Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping onto a path that's literally older than any story you've ever heard. We're going to trace the incredible, layered, thousand-year journey of how England was actually made. Let's dive right in.
Seriously, imagine you're walking down a long, foggy road. It's kind of wild to think about, but the ground under your feet? It's been walked by thousands of early farmers, fierce warriors, and ambitious kings over millennia. Every single person who walked that path lived a life full of struggle and triumph, and they all left something behind, a little piece of the foundation of the land we know today.
Part 1. The Ancient Tribes. Mist, Mystery, and Stone. Long before massive cities, these early tribes lived simple, hard lives hunting and growing wheat. They were deeply connected to nature, leaving behind whispers and massive stone circles like Stonehenge. But across the sea, Julius Caesar was drawing up plans. In 55 BC, Roman legions arrived. They didn't stay long then, but flash forward nearly a century to 43 AD, and the Roman army returns with a vengeance. They actually set up shop and organized the island for almost 400 years before their empire finally withdrew. You can imagine the culture shock here, right? It was absolute. On one hand, you've got the ancient tribes living these simple, rugged lives, using stone and bone tools, believing even the rivers had spirits. And on the other hand, the relentless Roman machine. We're talking highly structured, disciplined armies, perfectly straight roads, totally new laws, and far better weapons. It permanently altered this wild island, even if those old tribal ways kind of lingered deep in the forests.
Part 2. Across the North Sea, the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons.
So with the Romans gone, new farmers and warriors saw an opportunity. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes crossed the icy North Sea from modern-day Germany and Denmark looking for a new home, and they brought something huge with them: the very roots of the English language. See, the Angles called their new territory Angleland, and slowly, over generations, that simple phrase morphed into the word we use today, England. Talk about the power of a name, a global superpower's identity, born from small migrating tribes looking for a better life.
Part 3. The Viking Threat. Longships on the horizon. That brief era of peace we just talked about? Yeah, it didn't last. It was absolutely shattered by the terrifying arrival of fierce, fast-moving sailors from Norway and Denmark. They showed up in these highly decorated longships, raiding monasteries and coasts. But as kingdoms completely collapsed under the pressure, one man absolutely refused to give up. His name was Alfred the Great of Wessex. Pushed all the way to the brink, literally hiding out in the muddy swamps of Somerset, he patiently studied his enemy to fight back.
Alfred was brilliant because he knew that courage wasn't enough. He needed a real strategy, and his plan was absolutely meticulous. First, hide in the marshes to build up strength. Next, construct a whole network of fortified towns. They called them burhs. Then, forge a carefully trained standing army. And finally, just wait for the exact right moment to strike. He took a totally chaotic, dark time and imposed brilliant structure on it.
And that patience, it totally paid off. He eventually defeated the Viking leader Guthrum. But here is the massive twist. Instead of executing him, Alfred showed some profound political wisdom. He actually offered him peace. He asked Guthrum to become Christian and literally folded him right into the fabric of England. It was a genius move to help stabilize the region and break that endless cycle of violence. But Alfred didn't stop at military tactics. He understood that a lasting kingdom required intellect, not just swords. So he kicked off a massive educational push. He mandated the translation of books from Latin into English, taught way more people to read, and commissioned the Anglo-Saxon chronicle. He was essentially weaponizing the English language to plant the seed for a fully united kingdom, a real game changer. Part 4. The Norman Conquest. The year everything changed.
Across the Channel, a powerful Norman duke named William set his sights on the English throne. And that brings us to a year you've probably heard of, 1066. The two armies clashed at the infamous Battle of Hastings. It was a terrible, brutal, and decisive fight. By the end of that day, King Harold was dead, William the Conqueror had won, and England would absolutely never be the same again.
The Normans completely overhauled the system. They brought in a new ruling class and these towering, intimidating stone castles. But honestly, their most lasting impact was linguistic. They layered French directly on top of that Anglo-Saxon foundation, so early English words mixed with totally new Norman additions. Everyday words like beef, castle, royal, and justice, those are all straight from the Normans. turning English into a true language of both conqueror and conquered.
Part 5. A Beautiful Journey. A Nation Built on Mixing. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, the biggest takeaway here is that England is not and never was just one thing. It's this beautiful, complex tapestry woven from ancient tribes, Romans, Anglo-Saxons, Vikings, and Normans. And history didn't just stop in 1066. Through subsequent empires and global shifts, the mixing never really ceased. When you look at the layered language we speak today, you kind of have to wonder, what will the next layer of this ancient road look like 1,000 years from now? Are you ready to continue the journey into part 2? Leave a comment with the word yes down below if you want a follow-up explainer covering the next chapter of this incredible history. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you next time.